Alrighty, day 755, I think, of building online businesses, traveling the world. This is going to be Monday journal number 36. Last week was actually 35. I messed up the numbers, and it's another juicy one. Basically, if you're here for the first time, I sit down and share the raw updates to what's going on as I build Art of Mondays and some sister brands and figure out how to be the best version of myself. So let's jump into it. Oh, I also finally did something that I should have done a long time ago, and I finally did something for myself. So I'm excited to share those with you today. And as usual, I'll also share the Art of Mondays numbers at the end. Let's get into it. Raw one take as usual. Firstly, life, vibes. It's been great. I am still here in New Zealand. It's our last week in this little shack with Ev, Rach, and Jai. And as you can see, the sun is finally out and we've been loving it because we were cooped up for a few weeks with some pretty severe storms, actually. And now we're making the most of it. Time at the beach, long walks, getting some sunshine, having dinners outside, because in a week from now, we'll be going to the snow, which is exciting, but also we're not going to see sun for a while. So besides that, the other thing I've been doing a lot of recently is locking in my plans for the next 4 to 5 months, because unlike last year when my travel plans were sorted for me because I knew that I was going from country to country hosting residencies, this year is more open because I've trained a team to host these residencies now, which means I have the blessing of choice, but also the burden of planning. And to get it all out of the way, I sat down over the weekend and spent a good few hours going down so many rabbit holes. Airbnb, Kayak, which is my favorite flight comparison site, by the way, if you're wondering what that is, and just looking to what countries, what destinations are right for what I want. And if I wind all the way back, like how did I decide where I wanted to be? I knew I was going to be in Japan in February, and then March was open, April was open. Not until May did we have something in the calendar, which is the High Leverage House for the Art of Mondays team in Spain. So I started by doing an exercise. I can't remember if I mentioned this last week or not, but I took a A3 piece of paper and I wrote at the top, my dream reality. What is my dream life? And how do I want to feel when I wake up in the morning? What do I want my days to look like? Who do I want to be around? How do I want my business to feel like, be looking like? And the result was one page of a few bullet points of what I want my ideal life to look like in the near future. Then once I had that in mind, I was able to kind of reverse engineer. All right, if I want to feel good, what makes me feel good? Sunshine, exercise, things like this. So that allowed me to have some constraints. And if you're ever overwhelmed with choice and with possibility, add some constraints. So mine were, I wanted to be somewhere warm after being somewhere cold for the month prior. I wanted to be somewhere that was in the Americas because I planned to go to California to see my dad after wherever I would go. I wanted to be somewhere that I could stay for a month and it was affordable, but also had everything I needed, and somewhere I hadn't been before. So with all of those things in mind, I'll just reveal it now. Argentina was the answer. So I've got a place booked in Buenos Aires, and a couple of bedrooms. So I think Diana's going to come hang out with us for a month, and a few more visitors I'm sure will come down. Mo, if you're watching this, come visit because it's not that far from Mexico. Cool. So that is March. Then April, go see my dad in San Bernardino. For anyone who's seen him in previous videos, it's always a good time when we catch up. And then a road trip across America. I've always wanted to do this for whatever reason, never have, but we're going to be starting in Las Vegas, going to Salt Lake City, going through all of the national parks, Bryce Canyon, Zion, Canyonlands. And that's probably going to be with Rach and Ev, but we've got a few spots in the camper van, so plenty of time to see who's coming along for that journey. So that has been on my mind a lot. And the other thing I'm excited to share, almost share, is I am doing a 2025 year in review video. I went to 16 countries, took 31 flights, ran 9 residencies, 2 high leverage team houses, all the emotions, ups and downs you can imagine. And I'm making a recap of the whole year from beginning to end, showing not just the highlights, but actually what happened behind the scenes and how I was feeling at different moments in time. So hopefully those bugs aren't too loud. Make sure to subscribe because that video is going to go live in the next week, and I'm so excited to share it and show a different side of whatever you have been seeing, whatever you think has been going on in these adventures. Cool. Well, with all that in mind, I'm going to stop yapping for a bit and roll some clips to show you what this past week has been like here in North Island of New Zealand.
didn't wanna see. Excused his eyes, guys down on me, trying to use me up, but I never had a Midas touch. You wanna chew me up, but I never.
Well, that is a little insight into my week. And now I want to share some things I've been thinking about. And today the theme is a lot more tactical, business oriented. So hopefully by the end of listening to these things, these tips, these insights, you'll be able to go away and actually implement them into either your business or your life to get more out of what you're doing, more out of your work, more out of your team, etc. So the first thing I've been thinking about lately, actually I'm always thinking about this, I just haven't said it a lot, is leverage. And what is leverage? Leverage is doing something that gets you time back or that has impact long after you've done the thing. So when I think of leverage, it ticks one of these boxes. One, gives you time back. Two, makes you more money, which means you can buy your time back by hiring someone else to do the things that you want to do or that you don't want to do. Improves the product. A better product is leverage because more people talk about it, more customers come through word of mouth. If it's not one of those three things, if it doesn't give you time back, more money, which you can buy time back with, or a better product, then ask yourself, why are you doing the thing? Like, why are you the person working on that? Just do that exercise for yourself. See where you land. When thinking about leverage, I also have been tying this into my day-to-day structure. So I've got a new structure I've been experimenting with, and you might be wondering, like, why? Why does it matter that I've been doing this? It's because I have so many different focus areas, not only within one business running different teams, but also within multiple businesses now. So my mind is always running around the place, and I need a way to kind of compartmentalize my day or structure my day that is efficient, but also allows me to make sure I'm focusing on the most important things. So here is what I've landed on for this week. I bought a whiteboard and I'm just writing at the top, what 3 things, if I completed today, would make me feel like I have had huge impact. And then I write 3 things, nothing more. As long as I get to the end of the day of those 3 things, it's a great day. It's a win. And the reason it's capped out at 3, not 10. This is really a personal thing, is because I always fall into the trap of aiming too high and saying I'm going to get 5, 10 things done by the end of the day, and maybe I only get 3 or 4 done. And then I'll start to feel guilty. And maybe you can relate to this as well. And then the next day is spent catching up on the things I didn't finish the day before. So it really can set the tone for the week in a negative way if I don't do what I hope to do. For all you overachievers out there, you'll understand what I mean. Here's what didn't work for me prior, and the reason why I'm now doing this 3 things a day, that's it. Of course, there's time in the middle where I'll go and check some messages or do some quick tasks on my to-do list, but most importantly is those 3 things. So what didn't work for me in the past? One is context switching. For example, spending 30 minutes on content and then spending 30 minutes on ops and then going back to content afterwards. It takes a lot of time. There's been studies done on this as well. The reason that context switching is not a good thing is because it actually takes your brain a lot longer to refocus from one area to the next. There's like a few minute period in between that is kind of your brain recalibrating. And if you keep doing that many, many times a day, then that's many minutes, maybe hours kind of used inefficiently. The other thing that hasn't worked for me is using a to-do list that just gets bigger and bigger. And I'm sure you can relate to this. Eventually the list gets so long that we start a new list somewhere else and kind of ignore everything that was on the previous one. So I wanted to avoid doing that. And I also recognize that what else didn't work for me when thinking about task management and day structure is logging onto emails, Slack, WhatsApp first thing in the day, because then we are bombarded with other people's requests, other people's tasks, other people's problems. And therefore, how are we supposed to solve our own if we are being thrown other things in the morning that we didn't account for? So there's definitely a time and place for this. And of course, I always speak about prioritizing your people, prioritizing your team. However, just bake it in the calendar. Maybe that's your morning tea break is when you go and answer all the Slack messages. And as long as your team is aware of the boundaries you're setting, then it's not a problem at all. The other thing that I am thinking about lately, which actually ties into this stuff as well, is how do I know when something is high impact or not? What should be a priority and what shouldn't be? Here's what I've landed on. I've got 2 points on this. The first is something repetitive that I'm doing that if I delegate it or automate it will give me time back. That is high impact because it's something that you do once and then reap the benefits long after. The second thing that I like to prioritize as impactful is something that I can kick into gear and then pass it on to someone else to finish, and then I move on to the next thing. So an example of this is I might write a few scripts for some ads or some videos and then give them to the team to film and edit and produce. Meanwhile, while they're doing all that, I'm working on the next project. All of this, I think if I zoom out, ties back into what should a good CEO do? What should a good leader do? And I actually had a really good conversation with Lauren Oakes, who some of you may know, recently. And we spoke about when she was a CEO of a 8-figure marketing agency, what she would do. And what I am really inspired to do is, firstly, to do this, you need to remove yourself from a lot of the day-to-day tasks, but be able to go into different areas of the company and identify what's working, what's not. Kind of like a mercenary going in from day one. You've just acquired the company and you're going to look for anything you can fix to make it better, faster, more efficient, make the team enjoy what they're doing more. And then you move to the next area of the company and the next one. So that's what she's been doing, what I'm inspired to do. But also, I've started thinking about what are the characteristics of a good CEO? And the reason I'm thinking about this is because I'm thinking about hiring someone like this potentially for one of our companies. And I've got a list for you. So here are 8 traits of a great CEO. First, they understand the power of simplicity. Second, they have strong judgment. Third, cool, calm, collected under pressure. Fourth, and I think maybe this is the most important one, they can see how to take the business from 1 to 2, but also from 2 to 10. So they can see and execute both short-term and long-term simultaneously. 5, bias to action. 6, straight shooter. 7, they're a calculated risk taker. 8, they're obsessed with data. And 9, I guess I had 9, not 8, they have high integrity. High integrity means high trust. And if a leader isn't trusted by their team, then that can cause a lot of problems. On the flip side of this, that's what a good CEO should be doing. It should be personifying. What about a good founder? What's the most high leverage thing for them to do in their business? Another conversation I had with Lauren on this one. I'm fortunate that Jai and I are co-founders, so he can kind of play to the founder in this example, and I can play to the CEO in this example. But traditionally, the founder should be obsessed with lead gen and sales, and then bring on someone to run ops, bring on someone to manage the day-to-day. So that's a bit of a overhaul of structures, roles, all the crazy high-level stuff I've been thinking about recently. I think to summarize though, it's actually really simple. Focus on what moves the needle, remove all of the fluff and repetitive tasks from your day, and to be a good leader, embrace as many of those characteristics as you can. Alrighty, so now time for my traffic lights, a highlight, a learning, and a challenge from the past 7 days. My highlight is I'm just feeling healthy. I've been hitting the gym 4 or 5 times a week with Rach and the crew and eating great food, healthy food, and seeing the effects of that a few weeks after it's begun. So it's nice to see that actually showing up every day is starting to make me feel better in my body. And when I feel better in my body, I have more energy. When I have more energy, everything else flows better. My learning, which is inspired by the great Tony Robbins, is if you can change your state, you can change your reality. And it all starts with energy. And energy equals our mood. So if our energy is low, our mood is low. If our energy is high, then nothing is impossible. And how do we lift our energy, you might be asking? Well, the simplest version is movement. Sit up straight, open your chest, start to act, speak, feel confident, and then the energy flows. This is why if anyone's ever seen a video of me on our monthly campfire chats, we ask everyone to get up out of their chairs and start dancing and get the blood flowing for a minute or two. We put on some music as well. It's a lot of fun. And then that puts us in a focused, energized state, which allows us to reflect, have conversations, meet people, and get the most out of those calls. Finally, my challenge, and this is probably something that many of you who either manage teams or run your own companies could relate to. It's my role to be the more pessimistic of the two co-founders, the glass half empty. And this means I'm usually playing devil's advocate. What if it doesn't work? How can we get more out of this team? What are the inefficiencies here? And by having that lens, it's so beneficial for the business because Jai brings in big ideas and I say, no, we don't want to do that. That's a shiny object. That's a distraction. And we work really well together in that relationship. But what it does mean is that I kind of have a subconscious negativity bias now because of it. And my challenge is not making that flow into my personal life, into my day-to-day life, and just being able to, take off the hat and to allow it just to be part of my role when I'm working and not affect anything else. So that's something interesting I've been working through. Cool. Moving on now for what you've all been waiting for, Art of Mondays business numbers updates. So we are currently at 5,149 applications. That's up 215 over the previous week. We have locked in 256 members since we started, and that is less than 5% of applicants, actually. So that means 1 in every 20 people who applies finally gets the invitation and is accepted into Art of Mondays. We've also had 5,122 partial applications. And I want to share this because that's actually a good thing, because it shows that our filters are working. We don't want people who are not committed, which is why we deliberately have quite an extensive application process with a lot of questions and a lot of filters. And that's what this does. It filters out those who aren't ready to show up, because we believe in a give not to get community. And if people aren't going to show up and give to other members, and then the indication is they're going to be there themselves, which is not what we want. We want a selfless, caring community. And Instagram is 136,000, which is up 4K from last week. As for any other updates, I've got a few. So I mentioned last week that we launched Camp Mondays, and it sold out in 2 minutes for our early movers and a little bit longer for our inner circle. That was epic. We've never done a launch like that, and feedback has been awesome. What I can announce now is that we are doing our second batch of Camp Mondays tickets on the 12th of February. So that'll be with our about 30 minutes after our second campfire chat. So for all you members watching, make sure to jump into the campfire chats, and we're going to give away some Camp Mondays tickets as well during those calls. I also, maybe I'll bleep this out, but this is a realization for me. When we did the Camp Mondays ticket release to non-members, we priced it way too high. And the honest reason why we priced it way too high, we always want to make it at cost or below cost for our members and a premium for non-members. That makes total sense. But I had a number in mind based on calculations, and I said to Jai, like, what do you think about this number? And I think the number was, say, 4 or 5K. And he's like, yeah, what about 10? Can we do 9 or 10? And I'm like, yeah, why not? Why the hell not? We've never done this before. Let's go crazy. Let's see what happens. And then we did not sell as many of those as we thought we would. But we actually have I have a good strategy here I think that will actually build more trust with our audience as well. The issue was that we assumed non-members had the same amount of trust in us as our members did, and that once we launched the tickets, they would pay whatever the price was because they know how great and transformational and once in a lifetime the experience is. However, in hindsight, why would these non-members trust us? They've never been to one of our events. They don't know us personally. They haven't had any business breakthroughs as a result of the founder family. So when they see the price, it's very much transactional, and they probably don't want to take the risk. So what we're going to do is send an email to all of the non-members who were shortlisted and say, yo, honestly, we actually just messed up the price because we assumed that you guys would have the same trust in us as what our members did, but that was not the case. So here is some reasons why you should come to Camp Mondays. Here's some reasons why you should trust us. Here's testimonials, here's reviews, and we would still love to have you, so make us an offer. Like, the fact is, we want you at Camp Mondays, and we don't want the price to be the only reason that you don't join. So let's hear it. Why should you join? And hopefully we'll see you there. So that's the broad idea of what we want to say to these members to kind of make the most out of a situation where we messed up a little bit. But hey, it's all learnings. The last few updates, I'll rapid fire these. We are launching an inner circle only residency. This is exclusively for our founder family members who have done 50K or more in any month, and that'll be in Spain in April, May. We also filled up our Greece and Italy residencies to epic locations near the water. I'll put some photos on screen so you can check them out if you haven't seen them yet. We also have some new ideas on the Founder Sports Club, which I'll reveal maybe in the next 1 to 2 weeks, and maybe doing a big pivot. And the reason is we want the Founder Sports Club to be a daily product that people use. We want it to be a product that people love. And while most customers and members love it, there are some members who haven't had great experiences, and we really, really don't want that. So we are going back to the drawing board, and we're thinking, how can we make this epic? How can we make it a habit for people who want to log in every day and see what's up? So more ideas and more info coming on that soon, but probably expect to shake up in the sports club in the next couple of months. Maybe I'll rewind. I think this is helpful for people. The reason why we're doing this is because we created a VIP member WhatsApp group where we asked everyone for feedback. What do you like? What is missing? What would make this a 10 out of 10 product for you? If this was 10 times the price, what would convince you to join it. And they kind of listed all of these features and new ideas and identified the holes. And then we just listened to the customer and we figured out what they wanted, and they've pointed us in the right direction. And there might be a new app on the cards. That's all I'll say. The last couple of things. I did something I should have done a long time ago, which is I started some coaching with Lauren. So Lauren was an old mentor of mine, and she's also now running a fractional C-suite, kind of like an agency where they go and see other businesses and help them grow. Lauren and I have had a great relationship, and she's kind of one of the very few people I trust to speak about both business and personal side of things as a founder. So we had our first call the other day, and it was awesome. And also because she's just started a new business as well, we're kind of going to go back and forward, and I'll be able to help her out as well, I hope. So that makes me feel good because I didn't want to just take without giving. So thanks, Lauren, if you're watching this. And last update, another thing that I recommend if you run a team, you don't have to run a company, even if you just run a team, is asking your team for feedback. We did this at the end of last year, and we collated all of the numbers and all of the ideas and results. Overall, feedback was great. Like Art of Mondays company culture, awesome. People believe in the vision and the mission. People trust their leaders, and people are really excited to build what we're building. But then also we got some really good feedback on things like communication and transparency that we want to implement so that everyone on the team can have the best possible experience. And that's it for Art of Mondays. As for our partner brands, we brought on a creative strategist for Wealth Walks, someone who can drive the ad creative, and then that's responsible for bringing in more people into the community. And then also, as I mentioned last week, exploring the idea of a CEO for Wealth Walks as well. Still very much a seed that's been planted that we're just exploring. But if you do know anyone who might be interested, slide into my DMs. Cool. That was a juicy one. Hopefully it was valuable. Before we go, as usual, I'm going to leave you with 2 questions to ponder. The first is, what is something you can do right now, once you finish watching this video, that will make someone's day? And the second question to ponder, what is your old story? And what's your new story? Because you can control your destiny. That one is inspired by Tony Robbins as well. Thanks, Sam. That's it. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode. This was Monday Journal 36. Big love. See you in the next one.